Watch out, this podcast may contain adult content. We're brought to you today by Altered Reality Entertainment, the creators of Empire State Comic Con. Check it out at escomiccon.com. And now, on to the show. Hello and welcome to On the Case, Game of Thrones, a investigative television podcast where me and Casey, we dig deep into the final characters living and breathing ahead of the last season of Game of Thrones. So, Casey, we've been on a long journey. This is our last character to preview and talk about. Who are we talking about today?
Well, we may have saved the best for last. It depends on what you think. But today we're talking about Tyrion of House Lannister.
It's been a long journey for you and I down the old King's Road.
It has.
We're gonna talk about Thrones till we can't no more.
We should have taken a shit from White Harbor. It's way faster.
Yeah. Oh, all right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Tyrion, last scene, doing something that you have theorized a lot about.
Well, he's given this cryptic look when he knows Jon just went into Daenerys' room for some sexy time. And I think that there's a few ways you can play that. It could be that he's just worried about, is Daenerys losing her focus? Is this alliance going to change things, diplomatically? Is there a stronger alliance that a marriage for her could have worked on? Or it could be two other things. It could be that he's caught some feelings for the Dragon Queen himself, and he's a little fucking peanut butter and jelly. Or
that's door number one. Yes.
Yeah.
The half man got feels.
Or he promised something to Cersei, and he's thinking about how good these people are, and that he probably shouldn't do whatever the fuck he promised he's gonna do.
Yeah. So there's either scheme or like jealousy. Like those are the two.
Yeah. I mean, like, it's Game of Thrones, so like it's one of those things. Or it could be diplomacy. I think that's door number one. Is like, how does this change the game for her conquering Westeros?
And that's what I think that it's ultimately going to be. It's going to be the like, oh geez, like this is another thing to deal with. This is another piece to this puzzle.
Yeah, and I mean, like, honestly, based on the rules that have been set out and the way that Tyrion sees things, he might be king in the North right now, but he's still a bastard, and he'll never like be as good of a match for someone as, completely pure blood or whatever as Daenerys, because he's not like a true born heir to a big royal house. But as far as allegiances go, the North is as big as the other six kingdoms combined. So there's way worse alliances she could have made. And I think this one makes the most sense, obviously, for the end game of the White Walkers too.
So I want to start off our top moments for Tyrion with a rousing kick to the face, perhaps a smack to Joffrey, if you will, because that's one of my favorite top moments. Just like because it's actually interesting to me because of course this is how shows all are. They change and they get better over time too. Yes. They figure out the characters more, but it's kind of funny watching Tyrion in season 1 because he is like way more slapstick, much goofier. He's much blonder, less bearded, and he's made a heavy transition into a serious character, a wise character, a character that we should listen to more than just a gimmick. And it's kind of funny to me, just like in the first few seasons, just like, wow, he really is a gimmick. And there's actually sometimes that like now I'm like not annoyed by him, but you know what I mean? It's like that like I'm just like, it's not that it's rough, but it's just so different than where he like lands or ends up.
Yeah, I mean, like, he's living a life of complete luxury and like zero responsibility, and literally once he comes back from the Wall and he runs into Catelyn Stark at that inn at the crossroads, everything changes for Tyrion. He all of a sudden has to take things seriously. He has to kill people. He has to talk his way out of dying all the fucking time. He has to deal with his dad. He has to deal with Joffrey and Cersei. But in the first part, I mean, like, he's just like, I'm a fucking Lannister, and I'm not the heir or the queen or my dad, so until something is asked of me, I'm just gonna drink and whore myself to fucking death, and, I'll take my beer and my blackened bacon for breakfast and sleep in the kennels if I feel like it, and, like, whatever. Like, when he's at Winterfell in the North, like, he's just like that crazy Uncle Tyrion, like that drunk idiot, but as you start to see
Yeah.
him go north with Jon, and he starts to unfold a little bit of wisdom, and they bond a little bit about, like, where your bastardized your bastard, personality trait as like armor and stuff. Like, you start to see there's more to this guy, and he reads a lot because he kind of feels ashamed for what he looks like and knows that he has physical limitations. And in that, he just slowly becomes what we, love. And obviously we watch him fall in love and his heart breaks and all
Yeah.
that.
No,
But
and I was just going to basically say that I think a top moment is the transformation for me, because the comedy in the first seasons is a little cringeworthy to me, and then outside of the stuff with John, specifically, I've found it on my rewatch, like it being a little cringeworthy for me, but that's just because of how strong the performance gets and grows. Season 3, 4 is like just incredible stuff. But it's clear just as soon as season 2 even like lands, and it's clear that Tyrion's a star on this show and he's an audience favorite. Like when he comes into King's Landing, he comes in boisterous and like just like there's a real energy when he hits the screen in season 2, where in season 1 he was really not a focus and really not a main character, or not that he wasn't a main character, but like because I mean, of course, so much screen time.
Another character, he was always with his dad or with Jon or with Catelyn, in the Eyrie,
playing off people. He was playing off people. Yeah, he was a bench guy, not really a starter, but he does transition into that role, and then it's just I don't know. Yeah, it's a different energy. Like maybe even because Ned takes up so much of the space as viewers in the first season.
Yeah.
Once Ned is removed from the board, then Tyrion really gets to take that lead of the show role. And I think from like an actor's perspective, or from like the billing on the credits, like everyone would have said like from season 2 on for quite a while that Tyrion is the lead of the show. And then of course that does transition to Daenerys and Jon.
He's won some Emmys and stuff too. I mean,
I
would say when he's the Hand of the King in season 2 is some of his best stuff, because he's like in power, and the way he like uses his power is really smart. The way he like tells Varys, Littlefinger, and Pycelle all different like lies to find out who's telling Cersei stuff. The way he gets rid of Janos Slynt for being a traitorous piece of shit and puts Bronn as the leader of the Gold Cloaks. The way he, in the book he makes the chain and the wildfire, but the wildfire plan in Blackwater Bay. I mean, he's the savior of Blackwater Bay, and that is so great. And then he's just like shit on a lot in season 3, but I'd say 2 and 4 are his seasons where he is at his peak, because he is either under the gun or he is like playing the Game of Thrones to the perfection.
And
because like his speech when he's on trial, that's a high point for me, is his speech when he's on trial. Like, I wish I was the monster that you think I am. I saved you. I should have let Stannis come and kill all of you. Like, I love that scene, and like, because he was just offered to live. He's like, Jaime just said, I cut a deal with Dad. You just stay quiet, and they're gonna send you to the wall, and you're gonna live, and you'll be happy, and it'll be good. And then he sees Shay, and all bets are off. Like, he's heartbroken. And one thing about Tyrion is he is very smart. And the only time that he does things that aren't super intelligent is because he's also very passionate. And sometimes his passion and maybe the drinking gets ahead of him. I mean, I would also say one of my favorite moments is when Joffrey's trying to make him have a bedding ceremony with Sansa, and he stabs the knife down, and he says, then you're going to have to fuck your bride with a wooden cock. And everyone's just dead. Yeah. And I'm like, oh my God. And even like Tywin knows he is fucked up royally, and he has to like explain it away. Like, oh, he's just drunk making a bad joke, whatever.
That's okay. So we're gonna, of course, talk about that. That's a great moment that you brought up, and I almost not that I forgot about it until now, but you just reminded me like how great that is. Like during that wedding, I know this is not necessarily a Tyrion moment per se, but Tyrion's in the scene and he's playing off Oberyn. But when Oberyn tells him the story about him as a child. And then, like, I just, like, feel like for the audience and for the character and even for Dinklage in the moment, like, there's just so much amazing stuff happening there. The way he's reacting to what Oberyn's saying, him telling him the story, just like, you're not a monster. Like, they said that you would have claws and a tail and, like, all these things. And Cersei's, pinching him. And,
yeah, that's a beautiful scene.
And then when he's just like, I will be your champion. And then just, like, the look on Tyrion's face. Because in that moment, he believes that he can live, that he'll be okay because the Red Viper's a renowned warrior.
He has a
There's hope.
chance.
There's hope again. Yeah.
He has a chance. Yeah, and he's the only person that would defy the Lannisters because Bronn's not going to defy Cersei and Tywin. Neither is Jaime, and Jaime's not much of a fighter anyway. But yeah, like none of them are gonna like do that because then they're dead too. It's just two dead people instead of one. But yeah, Oberyn's been looking for an opportunity to get at the mountain forever. It's like it's absolutely fucking perfect. And I do love that scene a lot. I think and it is important because his acting in that scene
it's phenomenal.
Is really good. Like he's not even talking. He's just listening, but you can see him breaking down because he's like, holy shit, like I'm not wrong. Like I'm running around with a chip on my shoulder, but it's not my imagination. Like my sister hated me.
Yeah, I was from the doomed moment from I was day
born.
One. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. It's
like,
crazy
someone
to hear
understands
that.
it and treats him like a person. It's beautiful.
It's so good. Okay, so running through some other top moments. I've got some Blackwater stuff too, not necessarily that was Blackwater itself, but him, the speech that he gives, like these are like, you won't win any glory, you won't win any titles. Like this is your city. They mean to sack things, so that's great. And then him leading them through the mud gate.
Let's go kill them.
Go kill them. Yeah, like that's great. And then him leading the dudes through the mud gate and like just chopping off that dude's leg.
Yeah,
like that's just a great
Yeah, because it pans out and you're like, wow, he really is so much smaller than everyone. Like, it's really fucking brave that he's out there at all. I mean, it's crazy. And like, yeah, he saved the city kind of twice, and then his dad comes in and gets all the glory. But like, we have no idea what would have happened if Tywin hadn't showed up. Maybe Stannis.
Oh, I think they lose. Yeah, I think they lose for sure.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. Like that swarm. Like after they kind of celebrate and tip the thing over and they're like, yay, half man. And he turns around and he's like, oh, fuck me. And like, there they come, right? And it looks like hundreds, maybe thousands, but it's probably thousands. And there's no way they were going to retreat. So yeah, if they did win, it would be at the cost of losing Tyrion for sure. Because he would have been dead. They would have all been dead on the outside.
I'm going to jump through a few other top moments for me, just like Tyrion's genuine fondness for Jorah now. Like I just really like, and I like that relationship. Like I just love, the captor and the show's done this a few times where the captor and the captee become friends. So Hound and Arya, and then Brienne and Jaime kind of thing. So like that's like Game of Thrones' like main move. It's like, hey, we're gonna make the captor and the person be friends, basically. But yeah, like that Tyrion Jorah moment where he gives him the coin back thing. That's a really good. Like I really like that one quite a lot. And then when Tyrion makes the speech to Daenerys in the fighting pits, I'm a fan of that one too.
Yeah, I would say kind of, it's not like one moment necessarily, but every time I rewatch it, I think about how great it is that he kind of makes as good as he can with the Sansa situation once he has to be married to her. He treats her so well and he's so respectful, even when he's like pissed drunk on their wedding and stuff. Like he just, he has a sense of humor about it, and he feels bad for her for all that she's been through. But like, he's like, I will never come into your bed unless you want me to. And she's like, what if I never want you to? And he's drunk and he just goes, and so my watch begins.
Yeah, that's an incredible line.
Incredible line. Yeah, I mean that's how clever he is when he's pissed drunk. So like that's just how smart he is. And I just think that it's really nice that someone can be that smart, have that many horrible things happen to him, and still want to protect people and be a good person and be, I mean, people are literally ordering him to basically rape her and stuff, to like put a baby in her because that's their claim to the North. And he's just like, fuck you, I'm not going to do it. Like, there's no way. Like, you can force me to marry her, but I'm going to treat her well. And like, he's also like low key in love with Shay at the time, but I don't think that has much to do with it. I think even if Shay didn't exist, I think he wouldn't have. Just the same.
I don't think the situation changed. Yeah. So this is another one that's kind of like what you were saying, not necessarily like one key moment, but kind of like a collection of things, or kind of just like a general thing. Just every conversation he has with Varys, just across the breadth of the series, just like those. Like, I'm so glad that this show had the amount of time to be able to invest in that relationship and to like build to that stuff, because I don't know if that really leads to Varys helping him escape, by Jaime's behest, basically. But
Yeah.
it just like just in general, just Varys and Tyrion, like they're just like chilling in a room,
It's a match of
sip, yeah,
wits,
just
like made in
yeah.
heaven. Yeah, it really is. I agree.
I am a fan. Any other top moments for Tyrion you can think of?
Oh, I just had one.
Selecting Braun, that's a good
Yeah,
one.
I mean, he meets Bronn and like gets out of the sky cell is pretty cool. Um, what else? I mean, I like the way he interacts with a lot of people. I like the way he interacts with Olenna. I like the way he
I want to say
not sure if he
murdering
wants to.
Tywin's got to be up there.
Which one? Murdering Ty.
Murdering Tywin.
Yeah, I thought about that, but it's like it's also such a low point because he just had to kill Shay, and like he's like already upset that like his father wanted him dead, and he didn't understand why when like everyone knew, like everyone with a brain besides Cersei who just wants him dead knew that like it wasn't him. So
Mm-hmm.
to see the oh my lion thing and like oh man, that was just fucking brutal. I mean, it almost goes in like worst moments for me. I like a
Okay,
lot of
then
this. Yeah,
we can transition to worst moments if you'd like, because
yeah. Let's do worst moments.
it's just pretty much everything after season 4. I kind of feel like, I mean, there's some good moments in there mixed with meeting Daenerys, but like, dude messes up in Marine, and
Pretty
the
bad.
wise masters come in,
Yeah,
and then also, so like everyone's just like, hey, beat my hand to the king, you're great at this, and then like he really just messes up. Like they had a 3 dragon lead basically, and they blew the series with losing Door and losing Highguard and losing everything,
yeah, and
Greyjoys,
yeah,
all that.
like
Yeah,
the whole like Casterly Rock thing, like all that, just like fucking royally failing. Pretty sad.
that's my favorite meme, man. The whole how the Warriors blew the Thunder blew the 3-1 lead.
Yeah.
They just like Daenerys blew a 3 dragon lead, and I'm just like, yeah, she did. She's
Overconfidence can be a problem. I mean, the Emperor Palpatine was pretty clear about that.
Cersei is out here wrecking.
Yeah, I mean, like that's the best part about the show is like they do shit like that. You think you think like how the fuck are they gonna resist her now? And then you're like, oh fuck yeah, but I forgot about Euron, and I forgot like about the fact that like Castle of the Rock is like basically just like a big dumb stupid like building now. Like there's no gold mines to be
Mm-hmm.
had. The city's like probably pretty vacant anymore, It's more of a symbol, and it's only a symbol because a lot of people don't know that it's empty.
Well, I
So,
mean, okay, so you bring up Casterly Rock, man, and it's like, oh man, his go through the secret whore like potty path thing that he
yeah.
set up in Casterly Rock, and it's just like, and he gets outfoxed by Jamie.
Yeah. I totally called that like too, like before the season I was like when they go to Castle Rock, there's no way that whole sewage line and like smuggling whores in through the sewage area, there's no way that doesn't come into play. And I love that they used it because it was just such a like fun deep cut kind of like fan moment. But
Mm-hmm.
um but yeah, I mean it's for it to just mean nothing and they just turn around and oh, why we only kill like 30 dudes and then they're like, "Oh, there goes all our ships. Cool." Now we get to walk across Westeros with no fucking food. So, pretty horrible plan.
Well, it's the fact that he got outfoxed by Jamie is the thing that's comedic to me.
It is, and I think it's interesting because it's sort of cool for Jamie because like yeah, Jamie is not a bad battle commander. I think he's smarter now than when he was like basically beaten by Rob Stark, and he even says he used the same trick Rob Stark used on
Mm-hmm.
him and his dad on Tyrion. He made it seem like they fortified it, but then when you go instead of 20,000 men, there's 2,000 men, and where are the other 18,000 men? Oh, they're taking the castle that actually fucking matters with a mountain of goddamn gold and killing one of your allies with their own bannermen. Like, holy shit! Like, yeah, that was a big old smack across
Big
the
swing.
face.
All right, so what are some other worst moments for Tyrion?
I
So
mean,
having to choke out Shay, I guess, right?
yeah, killing Shay. I think it's weird because like one of the worst moments in Tyrion's life isn't in Game of Thrones. It's talked about in Game of Thrones, but it's the whole Tysha bit with his first marriage, and whether
Mm-hmm.
or not it was set up or real. I like to think it's real. I kind of like have a hope that maybe he'll find her again. But I'm a hopeless romantic, so I don't know. Like, I kind of hope that he'll find Tysha again, and she'll say like, "They told you that it was planned, but it wasn't planned, and they said they'd kill me if I ever told you." And like maybe they get to be together, or at least like catch up. Like, and he could have some closure about that horrible, horrible chapter in his life. Because I think that moment, that day or 2 days that happened with her, honestly scarred him deeply emotionally for the rest of his life. Like, it changed his relationship with everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of crazy because he still trusts his brother like almost more than anyone, even though he was kind of part of it. But of course he was not part of like the horrible part. He was part of the fake out to make him feel like a hero, and to get like with a girl who doesn't have to be paid to get be gotten with or whatever. And I
Mm-hmm.
think it changes the way he looks at love, and I think it's why he drinks so much. And I think it's
To numb the pain.
yeah, I think he was taught a lesson that day that you should never love anyone. You should just hide it, do your duty, and just sleep with girls that don't mean anything, and make sure that they stay not meaning anything. And I think that's why the whole Shay betrayal is so extra fucked up, because it's not just like some girl he liked for a while. It's that he finally let someone back into his heart, and they crushed it. They crushed it in the worst way possible. Like, it's
The
almost
dad, like the being in his dad's bed, that's the worst part
it
for me.
is,
I'm just
and the
like,
betraying him in the court. Like, I don't know exactly how in the background that all worked out, but it seems like she was offered a better deal, and she was angry, and maybe Tyrion could have handled it better, because I was rewatching that episode recently, and he just like says like, you can't be with me, you're a whore, or Sansa's fit to bear my children and you aren't. All he had to say, because it's like literally when Joffrey's getting his presents, he hears Cersei say to her father, "That's the whore I told you about," and he says, "Bring her to my chambers at like at sundown or something." So all he would have to have said is something like, "My sister discovered you and told my father. He said he's going to summon you at sundown, and he also told me that the next whore he finds in my bed will be hung. So most likely you'll be dead by sundown. For your safety, because I'd rather see you leave than die, I'm putting you on a boat to Pentos." And maybe she would have cooperated, but he didn't handle that part very well, because he almost pulled like a Nymeria and like threw rocks at her until she ran away, you know? And it just wasn't very smart. Like, I was just like, you kind of screwed the
should
pooch
have
on that
given her
one.
more information, kind of thing.
Yeah, because other than just making it seem like he's choosing to not have her in his life anymore, he was honestly trying to save her life. Um, and she was just, it wasn't handled very delicately. So, but yeah, I think that's pretty horrible, and I think the Taisha thing kind of sets that all up for history to repeat itself in a way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, what's what's next for us? Like, what's the happy ending
Oh
for
man,
our guy
I
Tyrion?
mean Tyrion, it's easy. He's probably gonna be the owner of Casterly Rock, the Lord of Casterly Rock, and he'll change it to be a wine vineyard like he wanted, like, and he'll do the Imstelite, wine. And I would like to see him with someone that makes him happy, that like, and that he can make happy, and won't see him for just being a dwarf, or like a husband that's been betrothed to him or whatever. But like, I low key kind of want him and Sansa to be back together, and not because like I want Sansa to be unhappy. I think in a weird way he could make her happy, and I think after all she's been through, I think she has learned the lesson that the more handsome a person is doesn't mean the better they are. Um, Joffrey was handsome, you know. In a way, Ramsay's handsome, and all these people, but who's been kind to her? The Hound was kind to her. Tyrion was kind to her. Brienne was kind to her. I think she's smart enough and a little more mature, and I think that she might consider that like a good way to live the rest of her life in peace with someone that's funny and challenges her intellectually. and respects her, and now she's not a child anymore, so maybe he wouldn't have as much of a problem with sleeping with her if the time came.
Okay, I'm gonna go a different way with my happy ending. I just really think that Hand of the King, the power, is his happy ending. So I just think that whatever throne or whatever kingdoms or whatever is left after all of this, that Joffrey will be Hand of the King, given Casterly Rock, and all of that. And then I don't think he'll end up with anyone. I don't think it'll be anyone in the show that we know. I don't think that
Maybe not.
Romance is. Tyrion, through the course of the show, hasn't necessarily been a romantic character, even though he's been in relationships. I don't see him as a. If this is a rom com, I wouldn't put him in the show.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think the happy ending is tied up in mainly just being, I guess, where he always wanted to be in the game, making the change, affecting the things. And I know Daenerys has changed him a bit in believing in the people and that the system can change and it's not all shit as the world had been
really
previously.
That, like,
but
the game will be in existence. Really, like if diplomacy is like the end game, and she does break the wheel, then I don't see like the game, like the backhanded dealings and stuff. Like, who the fuck is gonna challenge him if Cersei and Tywin and the Tyrells and the Boltons and all those fuckers are gone? Like, and obviously Euron Greyjoy can't live much longer either. Like, so I think when all's said and done, he could be the Hand of the King. I think if Daenerys becomes queen by herself, he'll be Hand of the King or queen. But I really like Davos more for it, just because I don't know. I think he's more of a moral compass. I think Tyrion's maybe more clever, but
Davos going to be dead. Come on, Case.
Davos
what are
is
you even
not
doing
gonna
here?
be. Davos is gonna live forever. You're a fucker. You know he's my favorite character. But I like him being able to live happily somewhere, and honestly the happiest ending would be, like I said earlier, if somehow like Tysha, he could find her and be with her, and like how crazy would that be if like full circle the people that were between him and her are gone. He's lord of either Casterly Rock or like Highgarden or something awesome, and he's got like his own vineyard and he's living life, and all he wants is someone to share it with that maybe even loved him before the money and stuff. And like if that whole thing wasn't staged, then she would have like been kind of like his first love, and to have that back, maybe it'd be awesome.
I think in the books that's a fantasy that you can dream of, but in the shows, I don't think see that her coming in or that playing out. But that's
She's probably dead.
My opinion, how I feel. Yeah,
the common folk don't live very long in Game of Thrones, especially if they live in the Riverlands. So
especially if they're just in Game of Thrones. Being in Game of Thrones, life expectancy is pretty crap. Really so sad ending for our guy.
I think the saddest ending that I can think of right now is actually that I'm right about that he's going to betray Daenerys and Jon, and that he's caught trying to do it, and that he's like executed for treason, like by them, like and the reason he was doing it didn't even matter because Cersei wasn't really going to help, and the baby's not really going to get born, and it was all for nothing. That's the saddest I can think of right now.
You know, the saddest ending actually, Casey.
Oh yeah, tell me what it actually is.
It's Cersei wins the Game of Thrones.
Okay.
Tyrion has to watch Daenerys and Jon be burnt in front of him in the same way they burned Brandon and Ned's dad. Yeah, Rickon. Yeah, yes. But Daenerys doesn't burn, so they just keep her tied up and on fire in the chamber. And then eventually, after everyone Tyrion cared about is murdered and killed before him, Sansa, Varys, all of them, then Cersei beheads Tyrion. She keeps his head on a spike until the flesh, rots off. And then she takes the skull and she cracks it open at the top. And just like Carl Tannen from Gin fucking Alley, she drinks wine from Tyrion's skull on the regular.
Wow. I think that is obviously worse than what I said, because it's so outside the realm of fucking possibility and you're insane. If you want to just go with like the darkest thing I could possibly think of, I could probably beat that. But I will low-key say this. If Tyrion had to go in a horrible way, I think he would enjoy the fact that his head was being used to drink wine. Like, let's be
I know,
serious.
yeah.
That's Homeboy's life.
Yeah, I was just thinking what would be the worst, saddest possible thing
Okay,
that
the
could happen.
worst,
And that
saddest
it is
possible ending is like, yeah, like he gets like put in like a cell, and and Tywin comes back from life, and so does Shay, and Tywin just bones Shay outside of his cage all
oh
day,
no.
and
They force the red woman to reanimate Tywin's bones.
yeah, and his main bone, like the one he uses on Shay, and like all that shit,
Wow,
and then
terrible.
yeah, and then
Just
Joffrey
the
comes
gross.
back and just pokes him with a hot poker like every 20 minutes.
Can we examine that real quick? Like, if you were Tyrion's dad and you knew that was the whore he was laying with, why would you lay with her as well?
I don't know, because like there's really not like any evidence that Tywin does that on the regular. So it's
Yeah,
almost
which
like
is
he's
such a
doing it just
weird
in
thing
spite of
for him.
him. Doesn't it seem like that? Like it's personal. Like he doesn't fuck whores, and he literally condemns him for fucking whores all the fucking time. And when
He
it's
does
brought
it
up in the
so
books once or
hypocritical.
twice
Yeah, it's
that
weird.
like he spoke like, why don't you get remarried? And he goes, I was married and I loved the woman I was married to, and she died. And so he almost like tries to act like he's heartbroken
Ned
about it.
Starkian about it. Yeah, like honorable.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
it's
with it.
not. Like, obviously, like he's just using that as a scapegoat to not share his wealth with some bitch or married to another family or have some ball and chain. I think he's just like, he makes up his own fucking rules. First of all, I mean, Tywin's a badass, but like the only reason I can think of that he would actually have sex with Shay is to piss off Tyrion. But at that point, we don't know if he was really going to go through with it and kill Tyrion, because he says he wasn't, but he's also got a crossbow pointed at him, so who knows what was
It's
true.
yeah. All right, so then, do you think Tyrion will live or die?
I don't know. You go first. I'll think about
I think Tyrion's gonna die.
it. Yeah, yeah. I mean, why though? Explain.
We talked, in this journey so much about like people who are safe, people who are not. And the show has always proven us to be about surprises
Of
and
course.
to have that shock value, to have those twists. And I know that, it's kind of unprecedented for this kind of show to, pay off in the way that we all expect it to. I was kind of a little let down by Seven because I felt like they were holding something back, because that mission beyond the wall, like to me, that just felt off, that there were no consequences to that mission, because it was a dumb mission, or
What the
not a
fuck are you
great
talking
plan.
about?
And
No
like
consequences. They lost a dragon.
I know they lost the dragon. Sorry, there weren't any non CGI consequences. So
Oh,
like,
okay.
how did Jorah make it out of there? How did Tormund make
Well,
it out of there?
Thoros and Rhaegar
Hound,
died.
like, yeah, but no, none of those are. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just like,
Well, now that Thoros
the
has
way
died,
the
it also means that Beric can't ever come back again, and
true,
probably not Jon either.
but also Barrett could have died there too, and it would have meant nothing.
I love it.
Ultimately, like in my head, I'm just saying that, like, from a brutality standpoint and what the show has kind of set up, Seven was kind of weak in that sense for
Yeah,
me,
there wasn't a lot of
especially.
major
And
deaths. It was more of like, well, because like since even season 6, it seems like they're giving the good guys some considerable wins, and so there hasn't been any major like colossal deaths, like a Red Wedding type death or anything like that in a while.
yeah,
And
so
because Ramsay died and Littlefinger
besides
died,
Hodor, and then of course Cersei blowing up the set. But
yeah,
so for me, I think of, the dragon has three
of
heads.
course,
Our main characters are Jon, Tyrion, and Daenerys,
yes,
and I don't see a world where all three of them make it out alive. And we've talked a few different times, and I've said, it's on wax, it's on record, that Jon, I said that, I could see a world where he dies. I don't see a world where Daenerys dies. I think that she will live. So in my head, if I'm like, well, if they're going to give Daenerys the happy ending, that means that Jon's with her and they get to raise a kid together and it's happy kingdom. But one of those three has to go, I think. That's just kind of the lay of the land for me. If the dragon has three heads, I think one of those heads is not going to make
well, I
it to
mean,
the end credits.
if that's true, then the groundwork is kind of like the foreshadowing has been kind of there, because obviously, if you think of the three dragons, it would obviously be that Daenerys is closely bonded with Drogon, and it would also be
Mm-hmm.
that Jon is closely bonded with Rhaegal because that's
Because
his
his dad,
dad,
yeah.
and it's named after. So Viserion being dead means Tyrion would never, if he was a Targaryen, have.
Isn't timeout? This is going to be a crazy link. Isn't a visair like an advisor, a hand of a king?
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure a visair is like I might have to Google this
Hmm.
actually, but I'm pretty sure when someone says like this is my visair, it's like they're the person that speaks for them, their hand of the king
If that
essentially,
was
like
true, it'd be
they're
even crazier. But
yeah that's
it's named
but
after her brother Viserion, who obviously died. But
yeah no I know I
Viserys.
know that, but I'm just saying like that might be a crazy like plot thing kind of
That would
thing
be
that we
really
didn't think
cool.
of, but
Yeah.
yeah but like I said, so, because John wants to die so much, or like he's so not wants to die but is so risky, or like throws his life to the wind without any caution. I think that he's less likely to die, and I think Daenerys is going to be the one on the throne in the end. So that leaves Tyrion. So for me, I think Tyrion will die.
Yeah. I mean, all things considered, I would say that he is probably one of the characters I think is the most safe, but also, um, because the shock value that this show and this book series has led us to expect, it's not outside the realm of possibilities. I think, yeah, he could die. I think he could. I just don't think there's a good way for it to happen. So I'm gonna go ahead and say he doesn't die. I'm gonna say that because I know he's George R. R. Martin's favorite character. I think he's been through hell. I think a lot of characters that have been through hell won't die. I think the only characters that have a more of a
Hmm.
chance are people that have had maybe an easier go of it, or just haven't been as deeply emotionally wrecked season after season. But I don't think John falls in that
Is
category,
it
and I don't think Tyrion falls in that category.
is it weird if I'm a little disappointed if one of those three doesn't die? If all three of them make
Well,
it
if you
out?
want a main character to die, like a top five main character, I think you're gonna get one. I just don't know if
I'm
it's
not saying
Tyrion.
top five. I'm saying top three. I'm saying top three
Well, some people's
because
top three.
Jamie and Cersei are
Yeah, I
forfeit.
mean, some
Yeah,
people's
no,
top three is different. Like it might be
no, no, no,
Arya
no,
who's
no.
top
But
three.
I'm not saying. I'm saying from a this story has made this story about these people, and I think that I mean I think it's John, Danny, and let's just even go from an Emmys perspective. They don't put up Lena Headey and Nikolai Coster-Waldau. They put in lead actor. They put them up. They nominate them for supporting. Tyrion's
Fair
John and
enough.
Daenerys are all nominated
But
as
has
lead actors.
Tyrion been a
So
lead actor since season 4?
no, he's been a complimentary player.
Yeah.
You're right, but I would say that if I were to say the story was about three people, those are the three I'd say. And I did Google what I said earlier. So a vizier is the highest official in ancient Egypt to serve the pharaoh. So it would be the Egyptian equivalent of the hand of the
That is
king.
interesting. Well, then maybe you're right. I mean, maybe there's some extra foreshadowing there and he'll die. I would like to see him live, just because I would like him to be the last Lannister. I think if Jaime's dead, Cersei's dead, all her kids are dead, and Tywin's dead, I would like him to be like the last Lannister. Kevin's even dead. He was in the Sept.
Bro, no. Oh, man, you just talked me into this even more. Thank you so much. Wouldn't it make even more sense for the people whose entire existence in the show has been wrapped up in wiping another house off the map by being conniving and shisty, that like they're like the Reigns of Castamere and their house fades
Oh
through
wow.
time? I think all the Lannisters are dying now. You cemented that for me just now, and you're talking. Thank you so much. All the Lannisters dying.
And oh, they weep over their halls. Yeah, I mean that could work. Storytelling
Yeah,
wise, it's
yeah,
it's
man.
pretty
Like
compelling. Honestly, I just
from
personally I would like to see him have a happy ending.
from a like Arya wiping all the Freys off the map, and then if the Lannisters all get wiped off the map too, I'm kind of into that for like the consequences of the Red Wedding. Is just like, hey, like, yo, guest right is a thing. Like the
Well,
guest gods will come for you.
well, here's my last thought on that. Then, if if Tyrion is gonna die, I think this would be a really cool way to do it. Have him die at the Battle of Winterfell or something, and make sure like Cersei knows about it. Then Jaime comes in to King's Landing to try and figure out a peace, and he pulls the same shit on her that his dad did to the Mad King. and just wrecks the city.
The gate,
Yeah,
yeah, the sack,
he sacked the
yeah,
city
that's
and fucked shit
incredible.
up. But it's really
Because
not even like a sacking of the city. It's just that like for a moment in time, she's going to think once Tyrion is dead that there's no little brother left to kill her, like the Valonqar prophecy. And I just want that sigh of relief
yeah,
for her while she's like embracing Jamie or having a bottle of wine or whatever the fuck she's doing, right before Jamie fucking kills her. So that
yep.
if that
And
happens,
then the mountain cuts Jamie down or whatever, and they both
oh
die. And
no,
I just,
the
yeah, let's.
Clegane Bowl is gonna happen, and yeah, and
No. I was saying the mountain cuts Jamie down, like just kills Jamie, and then maybe that's what makes the Hound fight him in the throne. Oh, could you time out? Can Clegane Bowl happen in the freaking throne room in front of the Iron Throne, dude?
I would love that.
You're building the finale I want
if
right now.
if
Thank
if
you
the
so much for
finale
this.
goes like
I
this, like
appreciate
it's
you.
Jamie killing Cersei, the Hound fighting the Mountain, and Theon fighting Euron, all in the throne room. That'd be.
Euron's dead way before that. Euron's dead way
I
before
don't think
that.
so. I think he'll
Way
hide
before
there
that.
with Cersei like a little bitch behind the Skull
No.
Climber.
That dude's dying at sea in like episode 1 or 2.
I just don't see
No,
anything
no
happening
way.
at sea. Like they're gonna come from Winterfell, like they're gonna go to the sea. Like no, they're not. If they come down to
No, man,
Winterfell, they're gonna
because
go.
Theon went after him. None of the Winterfell people went there. It's just
Yeah,
Theon.
but I don't
Theon and the
think Theon
homies.
kills
They're
them
going to
right
free
away or
Yar.
anything, unless they get the Golden
Well,
Company to fight for them. That'd be pretty dope.
agree to disagree.
There's too many things we don't know, man. I just don't know.
Yeah. Okay. So you're landing on you think Tyrion's gonna live though. That's what you're gonna commit to this.
Yes, I think it works better
Okay.
than when he dies, just storytelling wise.
Tyrion, Azor Ahai, yes or no?
No.
All right. Well then, that brings us to the end of this episode. Any other theories you got?
I mean, obviously, we've talked a little bit about him potentially being a Targaryen, and I like it from the
Yeah,
books,
but not in the
but
show,
in the
right?
show, it's just because it would happen so close to Jon finding out who he really is. I think it would just cheapen it, so I don't like that, and so I think that just gets repressed, and maybe he finds out at the very end or something, and that'd be kind of cool. But if he finds out like midway through the season and Jon finds out first episode, that's just too close together. It just feels like Oprah handing out Targaryen, like you're a Targaryen and you're a Targaryen. I just don't like it. So
Yeah.
other than that,
No.
I have always kind of like been fascinated with Bright Roar, the lost family Valyrian steel sword of the Lannisters that like a great grandfather or something like took off to Valyria for some reason, like on a quest, and never came back, and it was never heard from again. And I would kind of like love if somehow they could find it, just because like I don't know, I think it'd be dope if Jamie or Tyrion wielded it, or just like they found it and they had something that Tywin didn't, just like a last little. I want him to have like some kind of last minute like fuck you to like his family, everyone but Jamie. They can just suck it, like he enjoyed being Lannister for a while, but like it's not worth it, and I think he'll be glad when it's over with all those fuckers.
That's incredible. That's incredible. Okay, well, that brings us to the end of this episode of On the Case Game of Thrones. Thank you for listening. As always, we're brought to you by Altered Reality Entertainment. They are the creators of Empire State Comic Con happening this weekend. Check it out at escomiccon.com. It's a Comic Con. There's celebrities, vendors, artists. Casey, what are we doing next? I guess. I mean, recapping the episodes, but yeah, what
We'll
else
be
is
having
happening?
a really in-depth analysis and breakdown of each episode as they air this season. Obviously, we're going to be watching them, I don't know, 3 or 4 times a night, every time they come out, but depends on how long they are. But the next thing we should do is right before the new season is going to air, we're going to just give you a nice little chunk of last minute like theories, feelings, excitement, and just how we're going to feel and prepare for this awesome, epic last season that we have waited so long for. Folks, the long night is almost over, and we should rejoice.
I can't think of anything that was hype. I just wish I might add in the air horn just because you really did it. You really did it. All right, thanks for listening, guys. We'll be back soon. All right, bye.